Hey everyone, happy Friday. How are you all doing?
Hey Steve, I'm good.
What's
I'm
up?
good.
So we're starting with an unusual lineup here. Bob is out of town, so he's not on today's
He's
live
out.
stream. Jay's running just a little late. He'll be joining us in a moment. So it was just Evan and I. We decided to start at the very beginning with our guest this week, Fabian. Fabian, thanks for joining
Yes.
us.
Thank you. Thank you.
How you doing? And you're in Berlin, you said, yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
What are things like in Berlin these days?
Well, things have started opening up, like since COVID and everything.
Hmm.
You still have to wear the mask in public transport, but otherwise it's basically back to normal.
Yeah.
And they actually released now so that you can get a train ticket for like €9 for a
Hmm.
whole month to travel basically anywhere in Germany to get like vacation started and like people traveling now after COVID. So that's pretty nice.
That sounds like a good deal. €9 for a month of riding the rails.
Yeah,
Wow.
and that's
Huh.
over the whole summer, so
Wow.
until August. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Take
They're
advantage of
trying to
that.
trying to reboot the system because no one was using it.
Yeah, kind of, I guess. And also a bit for like getting people to use cars less, I guess. Now with
Oh, I
the
see.
Oh,
yeah, with
sure.
Russia and everything.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, yeah. That was on my
So,
mind as well when you said Berlin, and you can't help but think of what's going on in your immediate, global
Yeah.
neighborhood there. It's got to be challenging.
Oh yeah, yeah.
what's the vibe in Germany regarding the whole Ukraine situation? I mean,
Hmm.
we're obviously hearing things third hand all the way over in the U.S. about what the media is saying, about what your politicians are saying, but um, it's hard to know exactly what's going on because the politicians are saying they sound very supportive of Ukraine, but they're also not doing very much to support Ukraine.
Yeah.
And uh, they're but the big move, I mean, has been to agree to get off of Russian oil. So I mean, how's
Yeah.
that all going?
Yeah, I'm not sure how it's going here in Germany. I don't know German myself, so I can't really follow the local news. So I come from Sweden originally, so I'm way more following the Swedish politics. and also like just international. But in general, I mean, yeah, Germany. I, I would wish that they could like open up the nuclear power plants and use that instead. But they seem to be extremely against nuclear here in Germany, which I
Gee whiz.
regret. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we hear as well. It's very, very. I don't know how you do it. How do you make up for the gap if you're not going to use nuclear? There isn't something else that can immediately fill as much of a gap as nuclear could.
The gap was Russian oil and gas. That
Yeah.
was the gap, right? I mean, it's for a while. Germany has been sort of the perfect example of the real choice you're making is not between nuclear and renewables. It's between nuclear and fossil fuels. Renewables are going to ramp up just as they are either way. But that it's the huge base load. Where are you going to get that from for the next 30 years? It's going to be nuclear, or are you going to just be burning fossil fuel? And Germany pretty much proved what people were saying. Is like, if you don't have nuclear, you're going to be burning that. You're going to be burning fossil fuel, coal, natural gas, oil. And in the last 5 years, that's exactly the road they took. The more they shut down nuclear plants, the more they got dependent on Russian oil. And here we are.
Bad choice. Very bad choice.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. So why are you in Berlin if you don't speak German?
I I used to be a politician back in Sweden, and and yeah, I'm also a trans man, and it's not very liked in Sweden to be trans and also not a socialist. So
nice. That's interesting. That's interesting.
So yeah, I just got a bunch of hate and threats from the Swedish left for being trans and not supportive of their politics. So I just got very tired of that after a while, and like the whole political situation in Sweden in general, the like immense corruption, and yeah, it's just shit. So I just wanted to leave, and then when I thought this, a friend of mine was also considering moving, and she wanted to move to Berlin, and I had never been to Berlin, so I was like, well, at least it's not Sweden, so that's great.
At least it's not Sweden. Okay. Are you learning German? Is that the goal? Is to get to learn the language? Or how do you?
Yeah.
Is it easy to get by, like just speaking English and Swedish?
It's very easy to get by in Berlin by speaking English.
Yeah.
It's like way too easy.
Yeah. There's not enough pressure to learn the German.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was in Vienna. I was actually I was in Germany once, very briefly, in the Dusseldorf airport, passing through to Vienna. That was it. That's my entire German experience.
Frankfurt Airport. That's it.
Yeah. But yeah, in Vienna, I mean, everyone speaks English. Yeah, it really wasn't an impediment at all.
Yeah,
I would love to visit Germany someday. It is on my list of countries definitely to go to. And I've been to Italy twice, which were both phenomenal trips. But certainly, there's so much more of Europe that's fantastic as well that I wanted to see. And Germany was right at near the top of that list, definitely. So someday.
Yeah, and I recently bought a car, so I could like drive around more in Germany, and it's just amazing. But as soon as you get out of Berlin to the other towns, it's a bit more difficult to get by with English. So at least I've learned enough German to like make like encounters in restaurants and just buy food.
Right. Yeah, these sort of getting by language. Yeah.
German's not that difficult a language to learn. I took it for a couple of years in high school myself, so I know a little bit. And it's probably, I would say, one of the easier foreign languages to learn. The alphabet's the same. Hello, Jay.
Hi.
And much of the structure of sentences and things are very similar. You just throw the verb at the end, and you're in pretty good shape.
Yeah, and it's very similar to Swedish too. It's a lot of the words that are just exactly the same. So, like in some areas, specifically in like medical terms, it's very easy for me to just say the Swedish word in a like slight German accent, and usually that
Close
works
enough.
great. Yeah.
Because they both have the same Germanic roots, Swedish and
Yeah.
German. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it's interesting to me. You said that the Swedish left is not cool with the whole trans thing. That's
as long
somewhat
as you don't agree with them on political terms. Like if you agree with them, then they are very supportive of you.
Okay, so it's
being
really
trans.
just about you have to be a socialist. But why would that matter to whether or not they support your trans identity?
Because it's very important for them that all of the like LGBT community agree with them, because they want to be seen as the political party or like the group for the LGBT community. So if you like differ from that, then you're like proving that you can be a LGBT person and also not a socialist, which I guess is a threat to their worldview.
So it sounds like this problem arose because you chose to go into politics. Had you strayed from being involved in politics, perhaps you would not feel the ostracization.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really hypocritical, though.
It
We
is.
support you as long as you support us. As long as you're in our political party. That's it doesn't sit right.
Yeah.
And of course, they don't say it like that. They say it like you're a threat to the LGBT community, because I think that they genuinely feel that way. So I don't think that they really think it through.
Right.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Jay.
Hi.
You are late, son.
Sorry, I know. I'm at my friend's house because we're doing Rock Band tonight.
Oh.
Yes.
When was the last time you played Rock Band?
About 4 days ago with my kids.
You're a veteran. Okay, so you know what you're doing.
Yeah, I have kids who love it. As a matter of fact, I'm very upset right now because I bought a Beatles Rock Band, but it was for the earlier version that doesn't work on my PlayStation.
Oh, that's how they get you.
I know. I put it in. I'm like all excited. I'm like, this is going to be awesome, and it didn't work. Wah, wah.
Oh, what a drag.
So whose house are you at?
I'm at Celeste's house.
Oh, okay.
Yes. I also, as we were driving over here, I had a massive hankering for my homemade bread, which I haven't made in about 2 weeks because I'm trying to lose weight. Because bread equals weight gain in my life.
Love sugar.
But how's everybody doing? What's up? And nice to meet you, Fabian.
Nice to meet you too.
So you're from Sweden?
Yeah.
What part?
I grew up in Gothenburg, but I lived in Stockholm for a couple of years at least before I moved here.
I used to go to Malmo at least once a year.
Oh, why?
Yeah, I worked for Thule. I used to work for that company, Thule.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and their home base is in Malmo, so I used to go all the time. And it was fun. I used to always enjoy going. Those trips were great.
Yeah. It's a great country to visit. They have some really nice nature, at least. So yeah, to go out camping and stuff, I would definitely recommend Sweden. They have great laws when it comes to like public access to nature. So even if you like privately own like a big forest, you're prohibited to prohibit other people from going there.
Oh yeah,
you have to provide access.
Right. England has similar rules. I think. I bet you other countries have similar rules to that. But a little different in the United States. If someone owns a private piece of property, regardless of the, what it is, if it is but just a big forest that they own, people do not necessarily have any kind of right. There's no easement, what we call it here in this country, for any sort of public access or access by anyone else other than whoever owns the property. Yeah, but that's because we're huge, relatively speaking.
In the United States, you're liable to get shot if you're trespassing.
You could, and people do hang those signs.
They do
in their woods. I've seen them.
I saw
trespassing or anything.
I saw a sign that a guy, his deterrent sign was "Don't even think about it."
Oh my gosh!
It was on a telephone pole. It just
How
said,
inviting.
"Don't even think about it." I know. It's like, okay, I'm
How
not going
inviting.
anywhere near that guy's house.
Damn. I mean, I can't even wrap my head around how it feels to live in a country where like random people on the street can just have guns.
Yeah.
It feels so foreign to me. It feels like out of a movie or something. It's
And Fabian,
insane.
it continues to get worse, because if you think the number of guns continue to go up, right? The attrition is not as big as the new guns that are coming out on the market. So, 10 years from now, if nothing changes, we will, human beings are outnumbered in the United States by guns.
Damn.
But it's
And
very
I
regional.
heard
For reference, I've lived in Connecticut for 58 years. I've never seen anybody with a gun other than a cop. Like, never. But if you live in Texas, it's probably a daily experience.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's very, very regional.
I put a picture up on my Facebook page I just found this on the internet. It was a guy with his family, and they're standing on his deck, right? So he has a big deck in the back of his house, and every square inch of his deck had a gun on it. He laid them all out, so they were all like organized. And the guy had like 300 guns. It was remarkable. Like, when you see the picture, you're like, yeah, that those people actually exist. Like, and I was not
That's
really
insane.
joking. I was kind of joking, but then I realized that it actually makes sense, that it's cosplay. Like I said last week, like, when you own that many guns, like it's way beyond self-protection. This is like, you're deep in the woods of hobby obsession. You're putting on a costume at that point. Like it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there are legitimate reasons that why some people own guns. Some people do it, because they hunt, either for sport or for food. Some people are collectors, and that's fine if you are a licensed gun collector. And some people feel the need to have it for self-defense, although statistically that's a very dubious reason, unless you have a very particular need, because of your profession or whatever. But what we're seeing is on the rise is people who own guns to own guns because it's part of gun culture.
Yeah.
It's not for any purpose. And they want to, like the AR-15s or whatever, they want to own big ass guns just to be part of gun culture. And the NRA, which started out as like a organization of gun owners that was very pro gun safety, whatever, they've been progressively radicalized over the last 30, 40 years. And now the NRA is really about pushing that specific gun culture, not just defending the Second Amendment or safe, responsible gun ownership. They are, really totally into like conspiracy theories and far right fever swamp nonsense. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Somebody gave me a stat. I wasn't able to verify it, but they were saying like 3% of the population owns 50% of the weapons.
Yeah, that's probably about right.
That could, yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot of metal, though. I mean, you think about the amount of guns that guy owned in that picture. And Steve, you and I personally know someone that owns a sniper rifle.
Yeah.
Just think about that. Like I often like it kind of gives me like a mini freak out thinking that somebody decided I need to own a sniper rifle, a real one, like currently used in the military grade sniper rifle. Like,
how is that for self-defense?
Well, it's the prepper thing. It's when the world falls apart and people encroach on my property and my resources, then I'm going to take them out.
Though? They're kind of scary.
Oh yeah, you got to use a sniper rifle on those deer. They'll get you.
I mean, but all that aside, I have real respect, frankly, for people who are able to use those sniper weapons, not against other people, but like
of course,
for their accurate, to show how accurate they are, and the fine talent you need to
as a sport, sure.
as a sport, right?
Yeah.
Which I don't know if there's a sniper sport per se.
Well, they do it in the Olympics. They have,
the biathlon. Is that really sniper? Is that really sniper rifle? It's more of a.
I used to shoot for rifle, sport, but then it was like air rifle.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, something less.
Somebody mentioned my katana. So I own weapons, and I have nothing against being a collector. I own that because as a work of art, as a collector,
you own
someone who appreciates the construction and the art form, etc. I have no problem if you want to have 100 weapons in your house as a collector because you love the history of guns and the whatever. I have zero problem with that as long as they are kept safely. What I have a problem with is just the idea that we need to be as well armed as the government, so that when civilization collapses or when the government comes at us, we can fight against them. We can protect ourselves.
It's just because you'll never be as well armed as a government.
They think that they should be, though. I mean, at the most extreme end, they think that they should be. But you're right. I mean, they never will be. But
they never will.
The government has nuclear.
Yeah, you can't
nuke. Come on.
Let's make our society a hellhole so that when it goes really to shit, I'll have good guns. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. How about we try to preserve our government and our society, and rather than prepare for its inevitable destruction.
And think of this too. Do you think that the Senate are shaking in their boots, thinking like, "Oh, we better walk the straight and narrow because the country is armed and they're going to turn on us"? Like that doesn't come into play. All of that gun ownership, again, they could say it's for self-protection. That might account for an incredibly small percentage of people. And if you really do need weapons for self-protection, go for it. If that's legit, then I would never stop someone from having to arm themselves for a legitimate reason.
Yeah, but it's perfectly reasonable to require people to, like in Connecticut, you have to get a license.
You have to
be trained. Evan, you have a gun license.
Yep, I do.
Yeah, I have zero problem with that. I had to get a license to drive a boat on a lake. You know what I mean? Why? Just for basic safety. People have to get licensed to drive a car on the roads. It makes perfect sense. I don't care. I'm not against people's right to own guns for whatever reason, whatever legitimate reason they have. But we're talking about gun safety. We really need to make sure we're framing this debate as gun safety. But the problem is the radical side of the pro-gun lobby won't. They frame it as they want to take all your guns away. Like that's it. Like any type of gun safety regulation is ultimately about disarming the citizenry as a prelude to some kind of authoritarian takeover.
Yeah, but the system
coming from the same people who are trying to engineer an authoritarian takeover of the
government.
Right. Yeah, it's totally wrong-headed thinking.
Yeah.
It's a boogeyman, basically. What it is. They're afraid of the boogeyman.
Well, they do it deliberately. I mean,
to further that agenda or tangential agendas that they have that kind of tie into it in certain ways.
So this person on my Facebook page who was commenting on this picture I put up was talking to someone, and they were discussing what should the gun laws be, and she was like, this idea that 21-year-olds can own a gun. She's like, I've had 3 21-year-olds, and there's no way that any one of them was mature enough to own a weapon that can kill somebody so easily. And
but the thing is that between 18 and 21 is a really steep maturing curve.
The brain mostly develops by 21.
Yeah, the brain development is significant in that age range. So, and again, there's nothing magical about 21 either. 18, I think, is pretty clearly too low, and there's a reason why. I think raising it to 21 is like a start. I would raise it to 21 across the board. I don't see why anyone younger than 21 needs to buy a gun.
Right? You can make a case for 25.
You're going hunting with your father or whatever, with your parent or somebody. They can get the gun for you to use, but and then certain guns I would maybe raise even further, like AR-15 type guns, maybe 25, or handguns, or things that the ones that are most likely to be used by criminals or in mass shootings or whatever, or to be fed into the criminal gun market. I mean, we have a lot of stats on things like that, and there are laws that are effective in, in reducing the lethality of events and also reducing the ease with which guns find their way into the criminal market, the black market.
There's ways to circumvent most of these measures. Like one thing I was reading about was a person that wants a gun that can't get it for one reason or another can simply have someone go buy them a gun. It's as simple as that. Like you just get your friend.
Yeah, but it's not you're never gonna, if somebody wants to get into your house, they'll get into your house. Like there's no way you're gonna make your house such a fortress that no one could, a dedicated person will not be able to break in. You're just trying to make it harder for people to break in. You're trying to make it less likely of an event to happen. You're not, if somebody really, really wants to get a gun, the chances are, and they have the time and motivation, they're probably going to be able to get one. But we want to make it harder statistically to get a gun, especially on a very short whim. I mean, the people's like, I need a gun today. Like, what do you need a gun for with that urgency? It's probably not something good. It's probably not a good thing. And we know that making people, again, even if the thing you have to understand too is most gun deaths in the U.S. are suicides, and preventing people from getting a gun like that day has a significant reduction in total suicide.
Oh, sure. And murder suicide as well.
Yeah, and homicide,
a crime of passion, right?
Yeah, crimes of passion, exactly. So anyway, no one law is a panacea. No, there's no way to completely stop, gun violence, but there are a number of popular proposed gun safety regulations that can take reduce the number and lethality of events, significantly, not to zero. It's just like a lot of people make, I think, a very good analogy to car deaths, right? Back, car deaths in the U.S. peaked at around 60,000 a year, something like that. And over the last few decades, through regulations and working with the auto industry, there's been a number of changes, not only their speeding laws, but also the airbags and seatbelts, whatever, that have halved the number down to like 30,000 a year. It's still a lot of people dying, but it's half. It's like,
that's not insignificant.
So and people can still drive. It's not like our right to drive cars has been taken away from us, or that it's a huge burden.
There's more cars on the road now than ever. That number of accidents should have gone up. It's actually better. It's actually better than a 50%. Comparison.
So anyway, there's no reason why we can't achieve the same thing with gun violence. We could bring the numbers down, not to zero, but significantly, with common sense, reasonable gun regulations that don't violate people's rights for gun ownership, but don't just completely throw gun safety out the window.
And that's not an unpopular position either. This is not some fringe minority talking. This is the majority of American people who want this. So this is not a fringe thing. This is what people want. They want more safety. And if
the
that means
SCOTUS,
tighter regulations,
reading the chat, SCOTUS would absolutely not shut down any gun law. Even Scalia, a very conservative justice, on the Heller decision, which is the most recent SCOTUS decision that really is relevant here. Basically, there were two components to the Heller decision. One was that the Second Amendment does include an individual right to own arms. That's the part that I think a lot of liberals disagree with. It's not just like in militias or collectively, but actually it does convey an individual right. But the other part that people may forget is that he also said, but that does not preclude the government from regulating the hell out of gun ownership, to paraphrase. The Second Amendment is not an impediment by current Supreme Court precedent to any of these proposed regulations. And there's no reason to think that even a conservative court would shut down any of these regulations that they have already said are constitutional. So in any case, we don't know what would happen until it comes before the court, and it's of course it's possible, but that's the current precedent, and I don't think anyone knows for sure what the current court would do. with I wouldn't assume that they're going to shoot down any gun regulation. It's actually not in line with the existing court precedent.
So to switch over to a happier topic.
Yes.
So I think I saw Fabian actually
Could be
nodding off there
anything
for
at
a
that
second.
point. Could be a happier topic. Yeah.
Steve.
Yeah.
How is your electric car? I looked at an electric car today. I'm getting
Which
itchy.
one?
Well, I went to my seatbelts in my Hyundai. The back seatbelts started fraying, so I brought them in because I'm trying to get the factory to replace them for free. So I'm in like this big battle with Hyundai right now. But so I was at the dealership at like 4:00 today, and I'm like, they had the Ioniq 5 right there. Someone was buying one and they were prepping it. And it was right there, and I got to sit in it, and I'm like, oh my God, it's such an awesome car. It's such an awesome car. It's the only thing. I think it's being said that it is the true rival to the Tesla vehicles, right?
Yeah, I mean, I just think electric cars are awesome, and their pickup is great. Their driving experience is awesome. Obviously, they're cheaper to own and operate. The cost is coming down. Although again, we're in a bit of a spike right now, like everything is. So if you could hold off for 6 months or a year, that's probably a good idea. But I just by coincidence yesterday I looked at all the full electric vehicles that were available. I had an hour to kill. I just was reading reviews and everything. There's a lot of really, really good ones. The other thing is I wrote not too long ago about the fact that really the sweet spot for range is 250 miles. And I mean, it's nice to have more range than that, but you don't really need it. Like 250-mile range will cover 98, 99%
It's most of the bell curve.
Trips.
It's the vast majority of the bell curve.
Yeah, and there's massively diminishing returns by increasing range beyond that. You're just much more. The far better way to increase range is to increase recharging stations, not the battery size of the vehicles. So we're already beyond what is the sweet spot with for range. So if you get a car, that has a 250-mile range, that's fine. And like if they're going to charge you $10,000 to go up to 300 or 350, you don't have. I would say you don't have to do that. If you don't have money to throw away, just go for the 250. That's plenty.
I wonder if anybody knows that's out there.
Yeah.
Are we significantly adding charging stations? I'm talking when I say we, I'm talking in the United States. I know that there's a lot of people that are not from the United States, but
they would have to be increasing.
I'm not seeing, just as my own, personal experience, I'm not seeing any more than I normally would. I know where the few are around me, but I don't see like them popping up at gas stations or wherever.
There's a lot of gas stations. You have to remember that, Jay. I mean,
I'm seeing them more.
There's a lot of gas stations.
I'm seeing them more in shopping centers, which makes sense.
Yeah, malls.
Yeah, because you need 20 minutes to do something, right? You're not going to be farting around a Quickie Mart for 20 minutes. But the ones that have like where you could sit down and eat and get actual food, or you go shopping or whatever, like you go to the Stop and Shop, you can plug in while you're getting your groceries.
That's the right place to put it.
Yeah. Of course, you're going to do 99% of your recharging at home. 99%. You have your own home, your own garage, driveway, etc. So you are going to do 99% of your recharging there. The only time you're going to use, and you really don't care if there are recharging stations near your home. You want recharging stations on the highway, and they're there. You go to any
every 100 miles you want to be able to.
Any place. If you're on 95, you pull off for one of the stops where you would normally refuel. There's charging stations there.
Yeah,
don't worry about it.
Let me look up. Let me pull up a map.
Let
me pull up a map and see if I can find any.
And do you really stay there for like 20 minutes?
It depends on how much of a charge you need. So I can fully recharge my Tesla 350 miles in 20 minutes. But let's say
I deteriorate over time slowly?
Very little, not if you take good care of your battery.
Right, it's battery maintenance.
It's negligible if you do good battery hygiene.
So follow the user instructions.
But if let's say, that's if you're taking a really long trip. But again, like for our use, like there was one time we're like, if we pop an extra 100 miles on here, that'll give us a good buffer to make sure we get home, and we want to run to the store or whatever. That's 5-10 minutes. It's not really much longer than getting gas. There was one time, we've only done it a few times because we're only on very long trips. One time we stopped by one of the stations, on I-95, and there was like a huge long line for the gas for gas. We actually recharged our car faster than it would have been to get gas, just because there was a line. But anyway, it's the 20.
That's unusual, though.
I know, but it turns out if you're going the context in which I'm going to be doing this, it's nothing. It's literally nothing. You go, you get an ice cream, you take a pee, you do your the typical break, 20-minute break on a long trip. You've charged your car. That's it.
But
what is the cost for like when you charge like that? Is it comparable to fuel?
So for Tesla, it's all free. You pay for the electricity, but the service is free. And in fact, you get like 500 miles or something free just for buying the thing. So, but when you burn through that, you're just paying for the electricity. There isn't like too much of a vig for using the thing itself. But one time we had to use a generic charging station at a hotel that didn't have a Tesla recharger, just had some other one, but we have an adapter for it. So they charged a few dollars, to use.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it's nothing. It's
negligible.
Even with that, it's cheaper than gas. It's cheaper per mile than gas, even pre, gas spike.
You didn't void your warranty or anything by using a non-Tesla charger.
No, it comes with adapters so that you can use any charger you can.
Well, that's good. That's how they get
They're gonna change that soon.
Yeah.
If you read the fine print on some of your electronics, sometimes they will say if you don't use the Sony batteries that came with the Sony thing, you may be in danger of voiding your warranty.
Oh yeah, that's bullshit.
So
that's bullshit. Yeah,
it is bull.
So I upgraded my furnace to a gas furnace from an oil furnace.
Yeah, that's a good move.
And it was my furnace had expired. Like the time on it.
It was time to go.
And crazy expensive, by the way. Oh my God, my wife and I spent so much money. We were like freaked out about it.
Yeah, but it's a long-term investment.
So I call up the oil company to cancel my account, and they played hardball with me.
What does that mean?
How?
I'll tell you.
They deliver oil.
I know. I thought it would be like, oh, okay, Mr. Novella, no problem. We'll take you off. So the first thing that happens was the first person I talked to literally asked me a dozen questions. Oh, why are you doing that? You moving to another company? And I said, no, my furnace was old, so I swapped it out, and I'm not using that kind of fuel anymore. And she's literally like asking me, so what was wrong with your furnace? What happened with like on an inappropriate level, right? I'm already getting pissed off. Then they put me on with a specialist. This is an oil company, you know what I mean? Like they sell home fuel oil for your. They put me on with a specialist who then asked me all the same questions again. And
you're special because you're special.
She's like, you've been with us a long time. I'm like, okay. Yeah, I've been buying fuel from you for a long time, which I no longer need. Take me off your service now. Then they made me. She sent me an email, and I had to write in an email back to them. I am confirming that I'm canceling my service. Which at that point I was like so frustrated. I'm like, oh my God.
That's the whole point. The whole point is to make the service so, the stopping so onerous that you'll give up or that whatever.
Sometimes people have service contracts, annual ones that re-up, and you may have been in the middle of the year or something, and they're afraid you're going to ask for the money back or.
But if the guy showed up to fill my tank up, there is no tank anymore.
Yeah.
There's no pipe to connect the thing to. Like, it's just ridiculous.
Right. So you were doing them a favor, actually, by letting them know your services are no longer needed.
Yeah, I guess I could have just done nothing, and then what would have happened? They would have shown up. I guess they would have called me at that point.
Where's your oil pipe? Someone stole your oil pipe.
I hate that runaround, the rigmarole. Yeah. Anyway, so Fabian...
they should train people better to...
Fabian, I wanted Fabian to come on the show because he is very much into Bitcoin and to crypto and everything.
I know so little about that.
And Fabian can give us like a quick, understanding of like, first off, I think it would be good for the audience just to hear like, how does it actually work? what does the whole thing mean when you buy crypto? What are you actually buying? And then my question to you is, why is everything tanked so bad right now?
So I have to preface by saying that nothing I say should be taken as any kind of financial advice. I am not licensed for that, and I'm not out to like make people buy Bitcoin or anything.
You are a crypto enthusiast.
I'm a Bitcoin maximalist even. I don't even dabble in yeah. I don't even dabble in what I call shitcoins then, which is all other currencies than Bitcoin, including fiat, in my opinion. But yeah, generally, so the reason I emailed you about this is that I've heard some like comments about Bitcoin and the energy consumption, and I get the sense from like just a general feeling from some communities where people tend to think that Bitcoiners just hate the planet or something, that we just want to spend energy and don't care about that. So mainly I want to just explain what the energy is for. But yeah, in general, Bitcoin is the first cryptocurrency, and in my opinion, the best. But yeah, so when you buy Bitcoin, you generally buy it from someone else who already has Bitcoin, because Bitcoin originates from being mined. And the miners are what actually uses the energy, and yeah, so it's a whole. So the concept of a blockchain is the technology behind Bitcoin, and they've put together the technology behind BitTorrent, so like a distributed, decentralized network where people can exchange information, likewise. And they put together pseudonymously, since it's completely open and public, so you can see what address has sent Bitcoin to what other address. It's completely open information, but you don't necessarily know who owns that address. So that's why it's regularly called anonymous, but it's pseudonymous. But yeah, so the when if I want to send a Bitcoin, like that would be a very high amount, but if I want to send a Bitcoin to you, Jay, I would then announce to the network that I have one Bitcoin here that I would want to send to Jay's address.
Nice.
So you give me an address, and I say that, oh, I would like to send one Bitcoin to this address. And I sign that transaction with my private key, which is then very connected to the address that I have. So from the private key, you generate addresses. And when I do this, this transaction has to be verified by the network, because I can't send a Bitcoin if I don't have a Bitcoin to send. So they have to check first to see that I can actually send this and that I actually have the proper keys to, the permission to use this Bitcoin also. And what happens then is that a miner picks up this transaction and they verify it. So it's a bit unfortunate that the miner has been called miners, because the point of the miners are just for transaction verification. They then get newly minted Bitcoin when they get a block through, but that is mainly a side effect of the transaction verification, more as an incentive for people to do this at all.
So every miner that's out there, right? So these are people that have computers running to figure out essentially like math problems, and at some point in time they'll figure it out and they'll get a Bitcoin for figuring that puzzle out. So
Yeah.
but they are the only people who have all of the transactional data.
No, it's completely public. You can go and download it now. I have a node back here that runs, and that is just for keeping a copy of the blockchain. And then I can interact with it however I want, but it's mainly, for me, it's mainly for keeping the network safe, to be a part of the decentralization of it. And the puzzle is actually pretty interesting that the miners have to solve. It's due to hashing. So hashing is basically you have a piece of data and you run it through calculations, and outcomes seemingly random string, like a piece of bits.
Code.
Yeah, like ones and zeros, and then you can represent them as whatever you like, really. And so the puzzle is that the rules are that you have to produce a hash that that adheres to a certain pattern. So when you have a block that is like just a collection of transactions, basically, you if you hash that, you will get a certain bits, like 1100011, something like that. And what you have to do as a miner is to figure out what number to add to the data to get a specific pattern as a result of the hash. So that could be, for example, if we want like 4 zeros in the beginning. So the likelihood that you get a 0 in the beginning of the hash instead of a 1, I mean, if there is just ones and zeros, is 50%. You can it can either start with a 1 or it can start with a 0. If it starts with 2 zeros, that's less likely, and so on and so on. So that's the difficulty of how difficult the puzzle is. And so when the miner has found the number to add to the data for it to become of a certain pattern, that is considered that they have shown proof of work. And that is the consensus mechanism that Bitcoin uses. This is what is energy intensive. To just find the number. So they have to run the calculations of the hashing on all of the numbers to just find the right one.
I don't know why somebody should come up with a system that allows them to use that computer processing to do something legitimate. Right? Imagine like if they were looking through NASA photographs for anomalies and things like that. Like if there were software that can spend its time doing that instead of literally doing like essentially worthless mathematical equations.
I mean, it's not worthless in that sense. It's the whole security of the blockchain is built on this, and it's actually built on an old spam protection, hash cache, which was the first proof of work where people had to solve this kind of puzzle before they could post to an online board to prevent spam. Because, yeah, if you want to send one message, doesn't take you much to like just get one puzzle done. But if you want to spam, then that becomes increasingly more difficult. And essentially, it's just to make the whole blockchain tamper-proof. Because if you want to change something like 3 days ago in the blockchain to say that like, oh, this transaction didn't actually happen, like I didn't actually send anything, then you would have to remine all of the blocks that have been since that time. And that is essentially impossible if you don't have like more than half of the miners' capacity to do that. So essentially, Bitcoin is really the first digital tamper-proof chain of information that we have to date.
Fabian, let me ask you a couple of questions, since you're a proponent. So haven't there been a lot of really massive Bitcoin, thievery that have happened? So even though
Definitely.
the blockchain itself may be secure, your wallet may not be secure, right? I mean, you could still have Bitcoin stolen from you.
Yeah, just like you can have cash stolen from you.
Yeah.
So with Bitcoin, essentially, the point is that you are your own bank, and when you are your own bank, you also have to do your own security. And many people actually just have their Bitcoin with a company or something, which, in my opinion, defeats the purpose of Bitcoin, because that is essentially a bank. But in those cases, we've also had a lot of cases where this company that holds Bitcoin for other people have been hacked in some ways, where it's stolen from them also. And some people that just forget their key.
Yeah. If you forget your key, the money's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other question is, reading what reading I've done about the cryptocurrency, that one of the main problem is like, how will they be used? Because if they're stable, they're useful as a currency, but not as an investment. And if they're unstable, they're useful as an investment, but not as a currency. And so for that reason, like they'll never really have any universal utility, right? It would have to be the same thing as fiat currency, where it has to be imposed from above in some way.
Well, fiat currency is usually suffer from inflation, where if you keep $100, then that will be worth way less in the future, because the government keeps printing more money to essentially make your money less worth, which you could feel as stealing from.
Right, assuming they're printing at a rate that's increasing more than the actual value of the strength of the economy, essentially.
Yeah,
so it's a bit of a cat and mouse game, but you're essentially right.
Yeah, and so Bitcoin, which will only have a certain amount of Bitcoin, there is no inflation there, so it's a deflationary currency rather, where it actually incentivizes saving rather. But yeah, it's a problem with the price going up and down, like in relation to dollar. For a person like me, what really matters is that one Bitcoin will always be one Bitcoin, and whatever you can buy in dollars worth for that is like less important in a sense. And a lot of Bitcoin maximalists just want to see the Bitcoin economy, where you price stuff in Bitcoin instead. But I think that the price will be way more stable when we have more people in, because now, like if there is like when Elon Musk buys Bitcoin, it's just such a big portion of all of the Bitcoin that he then buys that actually affects the market. But if there is just more people using it, then that won't have as big of an effect.
Yeah, but there isn't an example at present of a Bitcoin type of currency that is being used that way, though. I mean,
no, it's being used as a.
Well, I know it's being used as currency, but almost entirely within black markets, though, right? I mean, there's no. What's the economy that's using Bitcoin?
A lot of countries that don't have a stable financial infrastructure. If you look up, Anita Posch has a podcast where she goes around to interview people who use Bitcoin in parts, like certain countries in Africa, for example. And South America is also pretty popular to use there. So, for example, like a local business person in Africa that lives in a country where they have no stable financial infrastructure, Bitcoin is actually very useful there to use as their currency. And there's a lot of people going around helping to set this up for like strictly humanitarian purposes. And also with the energy like one thing with Bitcoin is that since the mining can move wherever, it doesn't have to be like close to a city or close to anything like that. It could actually be used and is being used to boost, essentially to subsidize renewables. When you have like a big cost in setting up renewables, then Bitcoin mining or any mining generally could be used as like for the investors, that we can get a return on investment quicker if we also mine. And I mean, if you use renewables, then there's not really a carbon footprint to it. And they also use it a lot in Texas, I've heard, for like oil drillings, where they have to flare the methane gas because they can't sell it because it's not close to a pipe or anything. So now they just flare it. So they release CO2 into the atmosphere without doing anything, which is very bad. But so then instead they capture this and mine Bitcoin with that methane gas instead.
That's interesting.
Yeah, yeah. And in Finland, they're working on, because with when you have more supply than demand of electricity, like, you know, the peak supply and things like that, what they do today is that they reroute the over supply to places where they can heat up water, and then they can use that water to heat up homes and things like that. But here they can also put in mining equipment to use up that oversupply of electricity, to use the mining and heat up the water with the heat from the miners instead. So it's a lot of, like, it's a lot to put in on specifically waste energy.
All right, guys, we're coming up on 6 o'clock.
Do you have a puzzle, Jay?
No,
quiz?
Evan has a trivia that we're going to move to.
No,
right
Evan
now.
doesn't have a puzzle.
Evan does not have a puzzle, and because Jay does not have a trivia game,
no
tonight.
Quiz and no puzzle.
Right, no quiz, no puzzle. However, fret not. What I can do is rehash what I did last night. Okay, so on Thursday nights on Which Game First, my other podcast, we do a live game. We play online, and part of the game, we play at Board Game Arena often, but other venues as well. While we are playing that game, what we'll do is we'll throw out trivia questions on certain categories to the watching audience, and then we get, let them play that game, sort of 2 games in 1, as it were. So I have last night's trivia questions and categories, and I do it in Jeopardy style, just because it's a format that works. And I'd be happy to share those with you if you would
Let's do it.
Play a little. All right. So the name of the game we played last night is called The Boss. And The Boss is basically a card game. But I based the trivia for every Thursday night's live event based on the theme of whatever it is, whatever game we're playing. If it's elves, we're going to have trivia about elves. But last night's game was The Boss. So that's the Mafia, basically the American Mafia.
Okay.
So the 4 categories, these are your 4 Jeopardy categories, are the boss or boss. So all the answers have something to do with boss in some way. The second category is called The Godfather. That has to do with the movie or the movies, The Godfather, The Godfather movies. The third one was The Godmother. And these are not nursery rhymes, fairy tale trivia. And the fourth one is a bunch of stuff. So it's random, hodgepodge, miscellaneous.
Yeah.
Could be anything. All right. I do the categories in 200. It's the double Jeopardy round. So it's 200 through 1,000 for 5 questions or answers per category, just like Jeopardy. There is no double Jeopardy. There is no, special, light up the board kind of thing. And we don't play with we don't score the points. I just use the numbers to gauge the difficulty of the question. I tried doing it once on the actual show in which I said, all right, this time tonight, we're going to actually keep score. We're going to treat it like Jeopardy. And you would be surprised at how many people shut down. They did not want to answer because there was something, even though there's no money at risk or anything in their subconsciousness, they didn't want to put out a false answer to get the negative points. So they stopped answering all the questions. It was the worst it was the worst game of Jeopardy we ever did on the show. So I did away with that. So it's just a matter of just feeding the questions out there and getting some answers.
All right, let's do it.
All right. So the three of you, Fabian, Steve, Jay, you'll be the three participants. And Fabian, you're the guest. So we're going to throw it out to you again. The categories are Boss, The Godfather, The Godmother, and a bunch of stuff.
I haven't seen the movie at all, so I guess I'll take the Godmother.
Mm-hmm. For how much? 200, 400, 600, 800, or 1,000? The higher the point value, the more challenging the question is likely to be.
Oh, I'll take the 400 then.
Okay, 400. The Godmother. Jack trades this for some magic beans.
A cow. What is a cow?
What is a cow? Very good. That's right, Jeopardy.
Do we have to do it as a question?
I guess not. We're not keeping score, are we?
All
Unless you want to keep score. You can keep score at home if you'd like. All right, Steve, you have control of the board. You're correct.
All right, I'll do the Godmother for 1,000.
Godmother for 1,000. The first names of the Grimm brothers.
The Brothers Grimm. That's
right. First names.
Hans and Franz.
Hans and Franz.
That's what someone said last night on the show. That was exactly how they answered. And yes, everyone else can play. You're gonna have to keep your own score and stuff. I don't really have a good way of keeping the whole live stream audience involved in this. And
Evan, I didn't even know they had names.
Of course they do.
Brother 1, brother 2. Okay,
I've never heard it. It's nowhere in my memory bank.
Jakob and Wilhelm. I would have accepted Jacob and Willie.
Jacob and Wilhelm.
Steve, you still control the board.
All right, 800, same category.
800.
Godmother for 800. The modern take on Cinderella dates back to 1697 and was written by a person from this country.
And who's that person?
England.
No, with this country. We need the country.
Oh, from this country.
England.
Jay, you want to? What is England? Or
What is
incorrect. England, incorrect.
I said the United States.
Incorrect. The United States.
Yeah.
Fabian?
France?
Yes, France. Very good.
What?
You control the board. Well done.
No, it is kind of French, isn't it?
Yeah.
It was a wild guess.
There's actually there's a further backstory to the origins of Cinderella. It's actually an older story than that, but the one that we're all, the Disney sort of version is what I was alluding to. So go ahead. You have control of the board.
Well, guess we'll take random stuff for 600.
Random stuff for 600. Short exclamation, sometimes inserted into a sentence.
Hey.
Comma?
What is hey?
No. What?
That is one, but in the
you
more
need
broad
the name,
sense.
like the grammatical.
Yes, what part
name
of speech essentially is it?
A euphemism, an expletive.
No.
Expletive.
No. It is a
interjection.
Interjection. That is correct.
Yeah. I got that from the chat.
Choose it, Steve. You got it.
Bunch of stuff for 200.
The name of the sea that lines the shores of Greece.
Isn't that the Mediterranean?
That is the larger.
What is the Black Sea?
At the Ionian.
The Black Sea.
Aeolian.
The
one of
Caspian Sea?
The Mixolydian.
Ah, really? The Aegean?
Aegean?
Yes.
Aegean, right.
The Aegean. Very good for everyone who answered Aegean. Steve, you still have the board?
400.
The longest side of a right triangle.
The hypotenuse.
Rhombus.
Very good. Oh, Ian, that's right. I'm sorry. I should have totally included you.
Oh, he's playing whether you want him to or
No, I'm
not.
just trying to cheat.
Go,
playing
Steve.
for the
Next
chat.
one.
All right, so we're 800.
Bunch of stuff for 800. Famous works of art. Birth of Venus, Primavera. Name the artist.
Oh, the Birth of Venus.
That was that guy. That artist guy.
Salvador Dali?
No.
Some with an R.
Rembrandt?
No, that's not. No, maybe not.
Raphael.
Oh, it's all good guesses.
Who is Botticelli?
Botticelli, yes.
Yeah.
I think the audience
There's no
helped
art
me
there
on
somewhere.
that one. I actually I went there. It's in Florence. Jay, you may have saw it. Did you see it when you went to the Uffizi
I saw it.
Museum? Oh my gosh, isn't it like mind blowing?
I agree. Yes.
Jay, you choose a category.
I would like to take The Godfather for 200.
Here we go. For 200. Marlon Brando's character's name.
Vito. Who is Vito?
Vito Corleone.
Vito Corleone. Very good. Jay, you choose.
I'll take 300.
The next one up is 400. Godfather for 400. You're going to run the category right now. In The Godfather 2, the family moved from New Jersey to this state.
Nevada?
Ooh.
Yes, Steve. Nevada.
Good one, Steve. Good job.
You take the board, Steve.
All right, 600.
The name of the restaurant where Michael shot the police captain and the drug lord.
Oh, damn. Oh, Christ. What was the name of that joint?
Vincenzo's.
Good guess, Steve.
Something that ends with a vowel.
Something that ends with O's.
No, actually.
I don't know.
Louis restaurant.
There is.
Louis.
Go ahead, Steve. You got the board. 800.
What are we up to? 9,000?
2 left on The Godfather. Yeah, 800 and 1,000.
Or 800 then. 800.
All right. The Godfather cannot deny a request on this special day.
On his daughter's wedding day.
Daughter's wedding day, Jay.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You want to knock it out with 1,000?
Let's do this.
The author of the book.
Oh, it's
more.
No. It's
Jay.
Ian, you love it. You know it.
No.
Oh God, I'm watching The Offer. Like I've been watching this guy on TV for the last.
Time's up, Steve.
No,
I'm
come
sorry,
on.
you lose.
Chat says Puzo.
Yes, it's
Mario
Puzo.
Puzo.
Yeah, there it is. Mario Puzo.
Absolutely. Okay. You want to keep going, or you want to call it a game?
No, do a couple more.
Go for it. You still have the whole boss category pretty much to do.
We'll take boss for 200.
He was the crooked commissioner of Hazard County.
Oh, that commissioner guy.
The Dukes of Hazzard. Is that what that's from?
Yeah.
Never saw an episode.
Holy moly! Never seen an episode of Dukes of Hazzard.
Who is the boss?
Boss Hog.
Boss Hog.
Oh my gosh! Look, Boss Hog's lighting up the internet right now. It's actually trending right now on Twitter.
400.
The boss may not be always this, but he's always the boss.
Tony Danza.
Oh no, the boss.
That's saying, right?
That's
The boss may not be always this, but he's always the boss. That's a saying. May not always be
right.
Right. Yes, correct.
Of course.
Steve and I got that at the same time.
Yes, you did. Therefore,
Next
you both
one.
get to choose the next one.
600.
TV show from the 1980s starring Tony Danza and Judith Light.
Who's the boss?
There you go. Next.
Whoops.
For 800.
Yes.
German luxury fashion house headquartered in Metzingen, Baden-Württemberg. Sorry, I mangled that badly.
It's right on the tip. It's boss something. Boss.
Come on, Fabian. You got an advantage there.
Hugo Boss.
Hugo Boss. Very good. And the last one for 1,000.
Bruce Springsteen.
No, I didn't know. It's not Bruce Springsteen. I was 1,000. To raise in relief from a surface.
Say that again.
Lost.
To raise. Yes, very good, Ian.
Emboss.
Good job, Ian.
Very good. All right, final Jeopardy question. I'm going to pull out from a bunch of stuff the hardest one.
No, you missed a bunch of stuff.
Here you go, guys. The name of the dwarf planet discovered in 2005, which resides in the Kuiper Belt. The name of the dwarf planet. Very good. Very good.
That's why you get paid the big bucks, Steve.
There you go. That was the bulk of last night's trivia, and the audience did extremely well, and the panel, the participants did fair to middling.
Let's be fair here. Fabian and I completely sucked at this game.
I sucked way harder.
Having heard the answers.
I mean, I haven't even seen the Godfather.
I mean, yeah, if you didn't see the Godfather, that's
a bit of a challenge.
Is, you know.
Fabian, you really should see that movie. It is wonderful.
I've heard so.
It's so good. The first Godfather movie is so freaking good. Every single thing about it is good. You know,
it's one of those perfect movies.
Yeah,
it really is.
I watched a documentary just the other night about it. You know, famous directors and things talking about that movie and the things that movie did that other American, ethnic stories failed to do before The Godfather, and it really changed the whole tone of not just that kind of storytelling, but movie making as a whole. It was that seminal movie.
So we're getting close to the end of The Offer, which is a mini series about the making of The Godfather. It's fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And like after we're done with the season, we're going to watch The Godfather.
Oh yeah,
you have to. Like you have such an. It's good because you're very often in the first person of the director, and it's just interesting to watch. What's fascinating is none of the people involved know what a huge hit it's going to be, right? I mean, we have the benefit of hindsight. We know what a massive hit and success that movie is going to be, but they don't know. They're just making a movie. They hope it's going to be good. But
do they also talk about it in the context of what was happening kind of in Hollywood at the time?
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because it was kind of really a depressed sort of time
Mm-hmm.
for Hollywood as far as the movie making
They needed a big hit.
went. Yeah, there had to be a big hit. It was tough to find real investors.
They had Love Story. This is Paramount.
Yeah.
They had Love Story, which sort of gave them a little bit of a extension, but they needed another big hit. And if Godfather didn't hit, then Paramount could have tanked. They would have sold it off. I mean, it was.
And there was every reason for that movie not to be successful the way it was, including coming down. I mean, Francis Coppola, who was so famous for having done that, he was like, I don't know what, the 9th director they reached out to or something to do the movie. Nobody wanted to touch the movie. They considered it poison, and even Coppola didn't really want to do it because he was off with Lucas and Spielberg developing Zoetrope films up in San Francisco, and they were taking the movie industry kind of in their own independent direction and trying to do more, less what was considered a mainstream film, but they were running out of money. So they said, look, so the team got together and said, hey, Francis, you got this offer to do this movie. You should do it, because if you don't do it, we're going bankrupt.
Yeah.
And we need that seed money to put it back into this company so we can stay alive longer. And for that reason, apparently, according to the documentary I saw, is the reason why Coppola did decide to take it on.
Yeah, but of course he totally fell in love with the project.
Oh,
but
right,
then
after that.
There's other things like, Coppola really wanted Al Pacino, but Paramount did not want him.
Not a short.
He was
Italian
unknown.
Man, right?
He was short. They didn't think he could be a leading man, and Coppola had to absolutely insist, on Pacino, and of course it made him famous.
Yeah.
The actor they have playing Pacino in The Offer is amazing. It's so fun to watch him, be Pacino. He does a great job.
All right, guys. I think I do have to go early tonight. I do apologize. It's my brother-in-law's 60th birthday party, and I have to bring the family over. So, and it's a 6:30 gig, so I have to duck out now. But
well, thanks.
All right. Thanks, Evan.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good weekend, Ev. I'll see you soon, man.
And Fabian, really nice speaking with you as well. Look forward to more conversations in the future.
Likewise.
And Ian, thank you. Thank you, audience. We'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.
All right. Why don't we take a couple of questions to finish up?
Okay.
Oh, yes. Okay. Let's just totally have that. Talk amongst yourselves. Hold on. Click. There it is. Oh, first question. Easy. What's everyone's favorite pseudoscience?
Favorite pseudoscience.
Favorite in terms of what? I mean, my favorite pseudoscience to talk about and debate and everything is creationism, just because it's my first, and I've probably investigated it, read more about it than anything else.
I used to be into astrology myself. I even have a tattoo of my sign, and now I keep it as a reminder that even a smart person like me can believe this shit.
Let me guess, you're a Libra?
Sagittarius.
Sagittarius. So it's a total guess, but if I was right, it would have been impressive.
Wow.
Everyone, including you, would have been impressed.
That's right. I'm a Leo, but Leos do not believe in astrology. So
no, we don't. So I have like a love-hate relationship with Scientology. I hate it for the obvious reasons, but I can't help but be so interested in it. It's such a weird phenomenon. When you think of all the different types of pseudoscience out there, and then the subclassification, cults as a subclassification, Scientology is the dumbest thing. One of the dumbest things I've ever learned about in my life. It is from the top to bottom ridiculous in any way you look at it. It was clearly written by a science fiction author.
Yeah. and not a good one.
And not a good one. And
hey, he's the most published science fiction author, I think.
Is that right?
And then the fact that
he
there's
has like
1,000
books or something.
Yeah, he did. He wrote a ton of books. He had pseudonyms and everything.
Like literally.
But the fact that celebrities are brought in by this as well just adds to the stupid allure to the whole thing. And if any one pseudoscience could be eliminated, if I were to be selfish about it, I'd pick Scientology.
I think that would get rid of a lot of harm. But flat Earth is really fun though.
Yeah,
it's fun.
That's like a morbid curiosity. That's like
whoa, But Steve, which pseudoscience does the most damage? Would you say homeopathy?
No, I think there's ones that are more pernicious than homeopathy. I mean,
religion. Got him.
Just throwing that out there.
Sorry, just had to do it.
Religion all by itself
depends on your definition.
Category.
Yeah, no, I'm just being a wise ass.
We have so much homeopathy here in Germany. I can't find a single doctor that don't also do homeopathy. I've complained about it, and some friends said it like, oh, but it's harmless, like let them do that. But for me, it's like I don't really feel that safe going to a doctor that do homeopathy, because that tells me that they don't really know how to think critically.
Right.
Yeah, but I also, I hear what you're saying, and you could be like, well, if you're a medical doctor and you're trying to sell homeopathy, it's pathetic. But the real reason that it's there as heavily as it is it's a moneymaker. So they're kind of like saying, yeah, okay, I'll do it because it makes my company money, which is pathetic too. But I think that's the main reason.
Yeah. Acupuncture is also.
Acupuncture is huge.
What a bunch of shit. Okay, Ian, what do you got?
What's the skeptical take on this stage of COVID-19? Wear masks inside, avoid theaters. Wear masks in offices. These are all questions.
So, it's still a bit of a moving target. So I think the CDC guidelines right now are reasonable. It actually depends on whether or not where you are is in a high risk location. So it really is location specific. You should know, like, is it spiking in your county? If it is, then I would up the precautions. So I would say at a minimum, what I would recommend is to, if you're in a crowd, like if you're taking a subway or if you're sitting in a theater, I would wear a mask. Yeah. Obviously, get vaccinated. That goes without saying, right? You should get vaccinated, get boosted as much as you can. And, if you are going to be in a crowded location, wear a mask. I would probably avoid being indoors with a lot of people for a very long time. Because then you're almost guaranteed to get exposed. Planes don't count because planes have such fabulous, air moving that it's actually the fact that you're technically indoors with a lot of people is not a problem, because they're really replacing the air every 3 minutes, on a plane. So it doesn't build up.
Also, a big factor here, Steve, is what are the current COVID numbers in your state?
That's what I said. You got to know where they are, what the numbers are, where you are, and then if you're in a vulnerable population, then you social distance, wear a mask. If you are with somebody who is vulnerable, just be very, I would be extra careful. Personally, I go one notch above what like the minimal recommendations are, partly because I'm a physician and I'm getting exposed to 20 patients a day, 30 patients a day. So I have no choice at work, but in a good way. So there's sort of the precautions are already higher, but I kind of extend them. Like I never go shopping without a mask, for example. But otherwise, I think you can go about your life as normal. And then if you get exposed or symptoms or whatever, then just self-test. Get the self-test at home, especially if you are. If you are, what was I? Well, I was reading the chat and thinking at the same time, and I got sidetracked.
Immunocompromised.
Is there any difference with like the new variants?
Oh yeah,
the new variants are good at reinfecting people. They're not as covered by the vaccine, so you need super high titers, which is why you want to get boosted.
But for testing,
no, they're still good. Tests are still good for the new variants. Yeah, and yes, N95s are the best, or even the KN95s, rather than a shitty fitting mask. You know, if you're gonna half-ass it, don't bother. Just get it. Just by now, you should know how to wear a mask. Get the decent. If you're gonna wear them, get a decent mask.
Throw away your cloth masks.
At least a KN95. You know, because otherwise, why bother? And the evidence does show that shitty masks do nothing. They just give you a false sense of security. If you're gonna mask, you might as well wear a good one.
All right, next question, Ian. Hurry up, man. What are you doing over there?
What is the hardest subject for a skeptic to tackle in public outreach?
Oh my God, this is a hard question.
Right now, it's the trans issue, to be honest with you, because that's the latest one, and because there's the greatest amount of factual misinformation about it. People, I think, inherently don't feel very comfortable and inherently don't understand the issue. And so even among skeptics, like you get this, there's just something wrong with the whole thing. Whatever. I don't know if you feel the same way, Fabian, but it's like, even people who should fucking know better are like, really? You're that ignorant about biological sex? Stop. Just stop talking about it. You're embarrassing the skeptical movement.
And it's like so much on like the extremes, because like from if you say to one side that if you say to the side that doesn't believe biological sex exists at all, they think that you're on the complete opposite side, and it's just so extremely polarized.
Yeah, it's tricky, and it's very I find it's very generational. Like the people who, I mean, I'm a boomer. I'm 58, but people in the 60 plus generation, forget it. I mean, most of them, in my opinion, are like, they just can't wrap their head around it. Even when they're trying to be open and liberal about it, it's still, there's an uncomfortableness with just the whole idea. They just don't get it. So I know some people who are like, they're very progressive, but they're older, and they're just like, I just don't know. Like they can't wrap their head around it, and so they're just out of it.
Steve, did you write on SBM or on Neurologica? Like, do you have a good blog treatment on this that people can go to get a leg up on it?
I am. Well, we have a couple of articles about it on science-based medicine, but they're focusing really on the medical treatment literature. So it's not really a good primer. It's more of an advanced approach. I have written, and I'm tweaking. I'm going to publish it probably very soon. Just a basic. Let's just like the conversation we had on the SGU. Let's start by talking about biological sex. So at least people aren't saying stupid shit like there's only two sexes and that's science, or if you have a penis, you're a man and that's the end of the story, or whatever, or just go by the chromosomes, or whatever stupid things people say that have absolutely no idea about how biological sex actually works. I'd like to at least get rid of that, at least within this science enthusiast and skeptical movement, because it's embarrassing,
and get people to get the difference between like just sex and gender.
Yeah, that would be a good start. Like, no difference between sex and gender, right?
But from the other side, like in Sweden, I heard like it's just most of the people there just thinks that biological sex is just not a thing, that doesn't exist at all, that it's only a social construct. And to me, that is like, why do I then need to take hormones and do surgery if it's only a social construct?
I think they're getting confused. I mean, gender, you can say gender is a social construct.
Oh, yeah.
But biological sex is biological. It's in the word. It's in the name. It's right there. It's just not binary. It's not strictly binary. It's bimodal, but it exists. There are sex hormones. There are secondary sexual characteristics, whatever. I don't encounter a lot of that in the U.S. I think that's the fringe of the fringe, and that's very easy to dispense with. But it does make the job harder, because then you have the anti-trans right quoting like these extreme people who get the science wrong, as if that's the pro-gender side. Like, no, it isn't. I don't know who you're talking to, but that's not what anyone is saying. This is, it's just this idea, like American politicians are saying, God made men and women, and that's it. Sex is binary, then there's nothing else. It's like, no, that's just not true. That's just not true. But you don't have to deny the reality of biological sex to know that that's not true, or to argue that that's not true. In the American progressive movement, where I bristle a little bit at the pro-trans side, is when they say things like, a trans woman is a woman. It's like, okay, I get that. I know where you're coming from. I understand what you're trying to say. But the bumper sticker approach is self-defeating, because the whole problem is that this is actually a complex, nuanced issue.
Yeah.
And if you try to boil it down to a bumper sticker, you are going to feed the other side, because they're going to say, oh, they say a trans woman's a woman, that it's just, it doesn't, therefore biological sex is a choice. It's like, no, that's actually not what we're saying. We're saying gender is a choice. And so if you have to explain your slogan, it's not working. You know what I mean?
And it's difficult for me to, if I'm treated as just a man all of the time, that will fail in some cases. Like, I've been in hospital and given, like, when you have to make like the pee, when they want to test the pee, and they give me the thing that you're supposed to stick your penis into, and I'm like, but no, I don't have that body part. And but you're a man. So it doesn't really work.
It must be very, very difficult. But I just think society, we have a huge education and transition to go through, where we get to a comfort level with the fact that biological sex is not strictly binary. There's whatever 2 or 3% of people who are intersex or non-binary or non-conform, whatever, and just fucking deal with it. Just let people be who they are. Just deal with it. Yes, it adds a layer of complexity to our society that wasn't there before, but it actually was there. We were just ignoring it and pretending it didn't exist, which does nobody any favor. And some people just don't want to change. They just
it's one of those things. It's going to take a generation to have it
at least. At least. I mean, being optimistic, I think you could say, well, maybe we are with trans where we were 30 years ago with the homosexual issue. And I think we're, again, very Americocentric in my perceptions, or at least for America, we're the issue's clearly not dealt with, but it's much better now than it was 30 years ago. And so maybe 20, 30 years from now, again, a generation hopefully will be in a much better place with the trans issue, but we have a huge uphill fight ahead of us. We're still at that phase where we're fighting within the skeptical movement. We haven't even gotten our own ducks in a row yet. Just like we were 10 years ago with GMOs. We still are, but we're making progress. So far and away, to me, that's the most contentious issue that we're dealing with.
One last question.
That was the last question. Unless you can find
something. Well, then, thank you, everybody, for coming this week.
Thank you.
Fabian, thank you for joining us.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much.
Steve, I want to thank you in particular for being an excellent brother. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jay.
What do you want from him? That sounds like he's buttering you up.
Yeah. What do you want?
Steve. I'll call you in the morning and tell you. And Ian, thank you. I know you were on vacation this week, so thanks for helping us.
I mean, I'm working. There's no such thing.
There is no such thing.
Yep.
Your family considers you on vacation.
All right. Goodbye.
Thanks,
Good night,
everyone.
everybody.
Thanks for joining us. Thanks, Fabian.
Bye.
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 Skeptics Guide to the Universe is produced by SGU Productions, dedicated to promoting science and critical thinking. For more information, visit us at theskepticsguide.org. Send your questions to info@theskepticsguide.org. And if you would like to support the show and all the work that we do, go to patreon.com/skepticsguide and consider becoming a patron and becoming part of the SGU community. Our listeners and supporters are what make SGU possible.
So I am cutting up a watermelon last night for my son because watermelon is a big deal in my house. I buy one a week.
You have
So-
to bring it up.
So my son says to me, "Dad, wouldn't it be cool to crush a watermelon?" Or right? He's like thinking of the different ways that you could completely annihilate a watermelon. And I said to him, "I have a video to show you."
No. No, you don't. No, you don't.
Pretty much, you're right, Ian. I know. I was laughing though. It was actually very fun.
It's very fun though to see hippos eat
Oh
watermelons.
yeah, that is actually pretty amazing. Because
But
just
they
imagine that's
waste-
your head.
They waste like 90% of it. It just goes, they don't get much.
Well, that's why Gallagher got so famous. I mean, that's
I know there's something special about
something
watermelon.
special about smashing a watermelon at somebody.
So Ian, where are you, by the way?
I'm fixing up an apartment I own to like Airbnb it.
That's cool.
So I'm in Pennsylvania. So doing a little painting and other nonsense.
That's good. Hopefully you'll make some money.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe. I had a tenant in there for like a decade, and so there's dog hair that has been there for like a decade. All over
Yeah,
the place.
I had a townhouse.
Burned down.
When I moved out of the townhouse that I bought, I rented it, and I like my third tenant had cats, and she did a number on the place, and that's when I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not going to be a landlord ever again. It was a bad experience.
Yeah. It's. I mean, yeah. I'm generally apathetic to landlords, but there's. I mean, the Airbnb thing. There's like actually like management around here that they just like kind of handle everything, and it kind of works.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Like I'm generally anti-landlord. But...
So Fabian, I missed the beginning of when you came in. So you're from Germany, but you live in Sweden.
The other way around.
Other way
I'm from
around,
Sweden, but I live in Germany.
What part of Germany?
I live in Berlin.
Oh wow, my wife and I were just talking about we asked each other if you could go anywhere in the world, where would you want to go to? And Germany was both, was on both of our lists. So we definitely want to go someday.
Yeah, you should. It's really great.
It's the donut capital of the world, right? Or it just has a donut. I don't know. Berliner is like a donut, I think, in Berlin, right? Might be a niche thing.
Yeah, the baked goods that is called Berliner. There's just the bread thing, but sweet and filled with jam.
I think that's like what JFK said. He said something like "Ein un Berliner" or something, and it kind of translates to "I'm a donut."
Yeah.
In Ein Berliner, that's what it is.
What cities are the ones to go to?
I mean, I haven't visited many cities, to be fair, but there is this great national park right on the border between Germany and Czech that is called Saxon Switzerland, which is a weird name because it's not Switzerland. But it has some great mountains, like a really beautiful place to go hiking. And there's a small village there called Königstein, which has like this big castle on the top of one of the mountains, which is also great. So definitely, if you like hiking and nature, visit the national park there.
Cool. Yeah.
Jay, Fabian sent you a can of surströmming, so I think you're going to open that now. Is that right?
I honestly don't know what the truth is at this point.
Yeah, actually, Courtney's right behind you, about to open it. So turn around.
What kind of delicacy is this now? What is it?
Oh, have you never heard of it? Oh, Fabian, please.
It's fermented fish, and it stinks. Like it's forbidden to keep on like airplanes and stuff, and people like prank each other with like putting it in like the ventilation system, and then they have to evacuate. And yeah, it's just. I mean, it's like a weapon at this point.
It's weaponized food.
So do you know anybody who actually eats it, or is it just like a boomer thing? Yeah.
No. I know people who just for the sake of it have tried it, but I don't know anyone who actually enjoys it.
I heard about the fermented buried shark meat thing. That,
in Iceland.
Iceland, right?
I heard that comes with one hell of a wallop. So it might be similar to that.
I tried that when I was in Iceland actually, and it's like a weird taste between like cheese and fish.
Yeah, that doesn't seem right to me. Yeah.
I mean it wasn't extremely bad, and you get a lot of alcohol to go with it, so that helps.
Yeah, that's part. You have to be drunk to eat it. That tells you everything that you know.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I'm going to go because I'm ready to. Right now I'm digesting myself, and I don't like this feeling. So Fabian, thanks again. I really appreciate you coming on. It was fun talking to you. Thank you everyone for showing up. I know Evan is not here, but his ghost is here because this is our after show.
Yeah.
And
somebody
Ian,
said Surströmming is really good. I don't know. I'm gonna ban you. I don't know. Yeah, I think
that's
you gotta
just
get banned.
objectively false.
Yeah, sorry.
Ian, don't breathe in too many paint fumes, man. That can mess your mind up.
Woo! Already did it. Too late. All right, y'all.
Night,
all right, I'm gonna toggle you off one at a time.
Goodbye. It's
Bye,
me.
Fabian.
I finally win.
You finally won. It was a toss up. Anything to say?
I do. I have lots to say.
Okay. Well, we'll leave it at bread. Oh, he just hung up on me. Wow. Well, I'm going to toggle Fabian on again. There you go. There's Fabian back.
Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop. All right. Now we're going to
last
end for real. All right. Goodbye.
Bye.